Welcome to Storycraft Portal. Jahan har kisa surf sunanahi, messes kia jada hai. Aave ki kahani ek awi se insan ki hai jo insaniyat ke libas min ek kofnak darinda nikla. Eko data, yomoka katil dana eko dost, yodusman se dehoi tsuada katarnak sapit hua. Phoenix, Arizona kusherer, main ton 17 kuak here, main surf teen haften main 8 log apnik janasi hothdo by the. Or in sabka italic surf ek names either. Cleophus Cooksey Jr. is katalimka raz jabkola to surf police nahi. Pura mulkhila utha. Yekachani sirf yurm kinahi. Yekachani chai troka. Dordeir us anthirakio insani chichra. He sat on the couch, the TV flickering silently, shadows dancing across his face. Cleophus Cooksey Jr. had just been released from prison, trying to blend back into a world that had moved on without him. He was living with his mother Renee and her husband Edward Nunn in a quiet Phoenix neighborhood. But behind his still eyes, something was shifting, something dark. Neighbors said he was polite, even quiet. But behind closed doors, the tension in the house had become unbearable. On the night of November 27th, 2017, the silence broke. Renee and Edward were found shot dead in their home. The only person present was Cleophus. Police arrived to find him covered in blood, claiming confusion. No forced entry, no sign of struggle, just 2 bodies and a man with empty eyes. This was only the beginning. No one knew the storm that was coming. Before the murders, Cleophus had already tasted blood, not as a victim, but as the cause. Years earlier, he'd been convicted of manslaughter after a botched robbery left a man dead. Though he served his time, something inside him had hardened. Now, out of prison, free, but not free of his demons, he was unraveling fast. Just days after his mother's death, he was spotted with a new woman, Maria Villanueva. She was found dead in her apartment, shot execution style. No signs of forced entry, no struggle. Cleophus disappeared for a few days, and police didn't yet connect the dots. But the method was the same. A clean kill. Cold. Precise. This wasn't random. It was personal, and it was spreading, like a shadow stretching across Phoenix. A killer wasn't just back on the streets. He was hunting, and no one could see the pattern. Yet, as December began, Phoenix descended into quiet panic. On December 2nd, Elijah Jones, another acquaintance of Cooksey, was found shot dead in his car. A week later, 25-year-old Larry Beckford was murdered outside his girlfriend's house. The killings seemed random, but the bullets weren't. The same caliber, the same cold delivery. Forensics hadn't caught up, but evil was moving fast. Police remained silent, but something was off. These weren't gang hits or drug deals gone wrong. These were surgical, and in each case, Cooksey had a link, however faint. Yet no one saw him as the threat. His Facebook was active, his posts poetic, almost remorseful. But it was all smoke. Behind every smile, another death was waiting. The city didn't know it was in the middle of a serial killing spree. In Cooksey, he was just getting started. By mid-December, the death toll had risen to 6. The media still hadn't connected the cases, not publicly. But internally, the Phoenix PD was scrambling. Ballistics quietly linked 4 murders to the same gun. Still no suspect. Then came the body of Jesus Real, shot and left in a car. He was a friend of Cooksey. The crime scene was clean. Too clean. Meanwhile, Cooksey was spiraling. Witnesses claimed he was talking to himself, pacing, agitated. The killer was unraveling, but his mask hadn't cracked yet. What terrified investigators most wasn't what they had found. It was what they hadn't. No motive, no pattern, just death. And then, one final horror, the body of Adarius Sines, 21, shot in her car. She had once dated Cooksey. The connection was now undeniable. This wasn't coincidence. It was carnage with a name. December 17th, the final day of Cooksey's spree. The morning started like any other, but by nightfall, 2 more people were dead. Christopher Cameron and Lamont Anderson, both connected to Cooksey. One shot at close range, the other left on the street like forgotten trash. But this time, Cooksey slipped. Surveillance footage showed him near the scene. His phone pinged nearby, and he was holding something damning, a necklace belonging to one of the victims. Police moved fast. They found him at his mother's house, the same place where it all began. Blood on his shirt, the same weapon in the closet. Cleophus didn't resist, just smiled faintly, as if the hunt was over. But the trial had just begun. Phoenix was finally waking up to the monster in its midst, a man they thought was just broken. Turns out, he was already gone. Inside the interrogation room, Cooksey sat still, eerily calm. Investigators threw name after name at him. Renee, Edward, Maria, Elijah. Each time, he blinked slowly, breathing steady. When asked about the weapon, he just said, "People die every day." Detectives knew they had him. The gun, the DNA, the stolen items. But they needed more motive, intention, something to explain the madness. But there was nothing. No manifesto, no letters, just death. The pattern wasn't political or religious. It was personal, chaotic. The only thread tying the murders was Cooksey himself. 8 victims, 10 connections. He wasn't just killing, he was cleansing his past, his pain, his ties. And in doing so, he left behind a map made of blood. The public had no idea what truly happened. Not yet. But soon, the media storm would break. And with it, the face of evil would finally have a name. When the press finally caught up with the truth, Phoenix was paralyzed. A man had killed 8 people in under a month, and no one had known. Vigils popped up across the city. Candlelight, pictures, tears, but also anger. How did this happen? How did the system miss him? Cooksey had a past, a record, warning signs. Yet he walked free. Families of the victims took to the airwaves, demanding justice, demanding accountability. In court, Cooksey showed no remorse. He watched the coverage from his cell, silent, unmoved. For him, the story was already over. But for the city, the trauma was just beginning. Friends turned into suspects. Trust shattered. Mothers clutched their children tighter. The city wasn't just mourning. It was questioning everything, especially how monsters like this hide in plain sight. The question now wasn't why he did it. It was how many more are out there. 7 years after the killings, the courtroom finally opened its doors to justice. The pandemic had delayed the process, but the memories hadn't faded. Prosecutors painted Cooksey as a cold, calculating serial killer, a man who used charm to lure his victims, then silence to destroy them. The defense argued mental instability, trauma, childhood neglect. But the evidence screamed louder. Ballistics, surveillance, DNA, each piece stacking like bricks around a tomb of truth. Victims' families filled the benches, some wearing shirts with their loved ones' faces. No one could forget the horror, and no one forgave it. On the stand, the detective who led the case held back tears. "I've seen killers," he said, "but this was evil." The jury sat stone-faced, their decision still days away. But in that courtroom, one thing was clear. This wasn't just a trial. It was a reckoning. Testimonies piled up like bricks. Former friends, ex-partners, and neighbors took the stand. Each painted a darker picture of Cooksey. Some called him quiet but strange. Others said he had a temper, a need for control. A psychiatrist described him as a narcissist with antisocial tendencies. The jury listened, but the real weight was in the evidence. The murder weapon, ballistically linked to 6 victims. Jewelry stolen from one, found in Cooksey's pocket. Phone records, placing him at every scene. One final piece sealed it. A jailhouse call where Cooksey whispered they had it coming. No remorse, no redemption, just justification. The prosecution rested. The defense stumbled. And outside, the media buzzed louder than ever. Monster, one headline read. Phoenix's darkest December, another. The city was no longer asking who. Now it asked, would justice finally be served? And what if he was only the first? The courtroom was silent as the jury filed in. 12 strangers, now the voice of 8 silenced lives. The foreman stood. We find the defendant guilty on all counts. Gasps, sobs, quiet applause. Cooksey didn't flinch. He looked down once, then stared straight ahead. Life in prison without parole. No deals, no freedom, just walls forever. Outside, Phoenix breathed again. Not in joy, but relief. The nightmare was over. Families wept in each other's arms. Journalistes tupet fast, cameras flächet. One father spoke outside. We can never forget what he took. But today we took something back. Cleophus Cooksey Jr. was now just a number in a cell. But the scars he left would last for generations. And still, behind every closed door, every quiet street, the question lingers: what evil hides next? And will we see it before it's too late?